Let me ask you a question. When you walked into the studio today, you bought that coffee in your hand. What did it cost you?
This? It's a fancy latte, so? About $5.
Wrong.
Okay, I know where this is going. You're not talking about the $5 leaving my bank account, are you?
Not at all. I'm talking about what that $5 could have been. It could have been a down payment on a sandwich. It could have been $5 in a high-yield savings account growing for 30 years. Or, looking at the time you spent in line, it could have been 10 minutes of reading, or 10 minutes of sleep.
You are absolutely ruthless today. But you're right. We are diving straight into the deep end of opportunity cost. And honestly, it's the most terrifying concept in economics because it ruins the idea of free forever.
It really does. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, let's strip it down. Most people hear opportunity cost, and they have flashbacks to Economics 101, staring at a supply and demand curve. But it's much more visceral than that, isn't it?
Oh, it's the fundamental law of the universe. It's not just an economic theory, it's a law of physics almost. It boils down to scarcity. We have limited time, limited money, and limited energy. So, every single time you say yes to something, you are implicitly screaming no at 1,000 other things.
That's the part that gets me, the implicit no. Because usually, we don't hear the no. We just hear the yes. We see the coffee we bought, not the sandwich we didn't.
Exactly. That's why it's called the unseen cost. Frédéric Bastiat, the French economist, talked about this in the 19th century, the difference between what is seen and what is not seen. The problem is, human brains are wired to focus on the tangible. If I buy a car for $30,000, I see the car. I feel the steering wheel. I don't see the portfolio of stocks I didn't buy that might have been worth $100,000 in 10 years.
That stings a little.
It should. But let's take money out of it for a second, because I think money is actually the easiest way to understand it, but the least painful. The most painful application of opportunity cost is time.
Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource.
Right. So, let's say you decide to spend your Friday night binge-watching a series on Netflix.
Sounds like a great Friday.
It is. And the direct cost is zero. You already pay for the subscription, but the opportunity cost? That's massive. That's 3 hours you didn't spend learning a language, 3 hours you didn't spend at the gym, 3 hours you didn't spend sleeping, or 3 hours you didn't spend catching up with an old friend.
Okay, but playing devil's advocate here, if we live our lives constantly calculating the lost value of every second, don't we risk becoming paralyzed? I mean, if I'm sitting there relaxing, and I'm thinking, oh no, I could be writing a novel right now. That's not relaxation. That's anxiety.
That is a fantastic point. And that's the trap of hyper-optimization. The goal of understanding opportunity cost isn't to make you a robot that maximizes utility every second of the day. It's to make you aware of the trade-off so you can be at peace with it.
So it's about intentionality?
Precisely. If you choose to watch Netflix knowing that you are trading 3 hours of productivity for 3 hours of rest and you value that rest because you're burnt out, then it's a good trade. The anxiety comes when you make choices unconsciously. When you scroll social media for 2 hours, not because you chose to, but because you got sucked in, then, when you realize the opportunity cost later, you feel regret.
Regret is essentially the realization of a high opportunity cost after the fact.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Regret is looking back and realizing the next best alternative was actually the better alternative.
Let's shift gears to decision-making in a professional context. I feel like businesses mess this up all the time. They look at the budget sheet, but they miss the hidden costs.
Oh, constantly. The biggest culprit in business is the sunk cost fallacy, which is the evil twin of opportunity cost.
Walk us through that relationship.
Okay, imagine a company has spent $5 million developing a new software product, but halfway through, a competitor releases something better and cheaper. The project is dead in the water.
But they've already spent $5 million.
Right. The manager says, "We can't stop now. We've spent $5 million. They want to finish it to justify the spend. But an opportunity cost thinker says, the 5 million is gone, it's irrelevant. The question is, should we spend the next million on this dead product or on a new idea?
It's looking forward versus looking backward.
Exactly. Opportunity cost is always forward-looking. It asks, what is the best use of my resources right now? Sunk cost looks backward and tries to save face. And that kills companies. They keep throwing good money after bad because they can't admit that the opportunity cost of continuing is too high.
It's interesting because this applies to careers too. How many people stay in a job they hate because they've been there for 5 years?
I've put in so much time, I can't leave now. That's the tragedy. The opportunity cost of staying is the career you could be building somewhere else. Every day you stay in a dead-end job, you are paying a high price. You are spending a day of your life. And you're buying misery with it instead of buying potential happiness elsewhere.
When you frame it like spending a day, it sounds much more expensive.
It is expensive. We just don't get a receipt.
I want to dig into something a bit more nuanced. We usually talk about opportunity cost when we have two clear choices, option A or option B. But in the modern world, we don't have two choices. We have 2,000.
The paradox of choice.
Right. How does opportunity cost work when the alternatives are infinite?
This is where it gets psychologically dangerous. In economics, the definition of opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative. Not all alternatives combined.
Wait, explain that distinction.
Okay. If you marry person A, the opportunity cost is not every other person on Earth. The opportunity cost is not marrying person B, who was your second choice. But our brains don't work like that anymore. Because of the internet, because of dating apps, because of LinkedIn, we are constantly aware of all the other options.
So we feel the weight of 1,000 foregone paths, not just one.
Exactly. We start aggregating the opportunity costs. We think, if I take this job, I lose the freedom of freelancing and the stability of a government job and the excitement of a startup. We stack the losses. And that makes the price of any decision feel impossibly high.
That explains the modern condition of FOMO, fear of missing out. FOMO is basically an obsession with opportunity cost.
It is. It's an obsession with the road not taken. But here's the trick, and this is the philosophical pivot. You can flip FOMO into JOMO, the joy of missing out.
How do you do that using this concept?
By realizing that saying no to things gives value to the yes. If you had infinite time and money, your choices would be meaningless. If you could be everywhere at once, being here wouldn't matter. The fact that you have to pay an opportunity cost is what gives your choice weight. You are sacrificing other realities to inhabit this one. That's powerful.
That's actually quite profound. The sacrifice validates the choice.
It does. If I choose to spend an hour playing with my kids, and the opportunity cost was making $1,000 consulting, or going to a glamorous party, the fact that I gave those up makes the hour with my kids valuable. If the alternative was staring at a wall, the choice means less. High opportunity cost can actually increase the perceived value of what you choose if you frame it right.
I like that. It's about owning the price tag. I am paying a high price to be here, so I better be fully here.
Exactly. Don't double pay.
Double pay?
Yeah. If you go to the dinner party instead of working, don't spend the whole dinner worrying about work. If you do that, you've paid the opportunity cost, lost work. But you didn't get the benefit, enjoying the dinner. You lose both ways. That's the worst economic trade you can make.
That is the ultimate takeaway for our listeners right there. If you're going to pay the cost, make sure you get the goods.
100%.
Let's look at this from a societal level before we wrap up. Do we, as a society, ignore opportunity costs in public policy?
All the time. Politics is the art of highlighting benefits and hiding opportunity costs. A politician says, "We will build this new bridge." Everyone cheers. No one asks, what happens to the schools that we took the money from? Or what happens to the businesses that will be disrupted by the construction?
Because the bridge is the scene, And the underfunded school is the unseen.
Correct. And it's not even just money. Think about safety regulations. If we make a regulation that makes a car 100% safe, it might cost $500,000 per car.
Which means nobody buys cars, and the economy collapses.
Or people keep driving their old, unsafe cars because they can't afford the new ones. So the regulation, by ignoring the opportunity cost of affordability, actually makes roads less safe. Every policy has a trade-off. There are no solutions, only trade-offs.
There are no solutions, only trade-offs. That sounds like Thomas Sowell.
It is. And it's the mantra of the opportunity cost mindset. It sounds cynical, but it's actually liberating. It stops you from chasing perfection. It stops you from looking for the perfect candidate, the perfect investment, or the perfect life strategy. They don't exist. There are only sets of trade-offs, and you have to pick the set you can live with.
So, how does someone start practicing this today? Without becoming a neurotic mess calculating the value of their latte?
Start with the big rocks. Don't worry about the coffee, worry about the big three: career, relationships, and asset allocation. When you make a decision in those areas, pause. Ask yourself, what is the invisible alternative? And am I okay with letting that go?
And write it down?
Writing it down helps. I am choosing X. By doing this, I am actively rejecting Y and Z. It makes the decision conscious. It moves it from the subconscious emotional brain to the conscious logical brain.
And I suppose it helps with the what-ifs later on.
Huge help. When you look back in 5 years, you can say, I didn't make a mistake. I made a choice based on the data I had. I knew the cost, and I paid it. It kills regret.
It seems like mastering opportunity cost is really about mastering maturity. It's accepting that we can't have it all.
We can have anything we want, just not everything we want. That's the distinction.
That's a powerful place to land. We are nearing the end of our time here. And speaking of time, our listeners have just spent 15 minutes with us.
A high opportunity cost. They could have been listening to music, working, or sleeping.
Exactly. So, in our final moments, let's make sure that investment pays off. If you could leave them with one question to ask themselves for the rest of the day, what would it be?
I would ask this. Look at the thing you are complaining about: your busy schedule, your tight budget, your stress. Then ask, what am I saying yes to that is causing this? Because usually we blame the lack of resources, but the real culprit is that we are holding on to too many expensive yeses. What do you need to say no to in order to afford the life you actually want?
That's the real audit. It's not an audit of your money. It's an audit of your yeses.
Precisely. The most expensive word in the dictionary is yes. Use it sparingly.
The invisible price tag is always there. The question is, are you reading it before you buy?
And are you happy with the purchase?
Thank you for that analysis. It's been a pleasure exploring the hidden costs of everything with you.
Always a pleasure. Time well spent.
For everyone listening, thanks for paying the opportunity cost of your time to be with us. We hope the return on investment was worth it. Until next time, choose wisely.